Okay, so now we're going to work on 68. So 68 is much more involved. That's why I did a short one first, okay? So this says, to find the equation of a parabola with its vertex at the origin and its focus at 0, 3. So we know some things here. We know that the vertex is the point 0, 0. If it's at the origin, that's the point it's at. We know the focus is at the point 0, 3. Okay, now this is your H, and this is your K. The focus, this is H, and this is K plus P. So the vertex is HK, the focus is H and K plus P. Now I know what K is. K is 0. So that means I can figure out that P is 3, right? Okay, so from that I know that P is 3. Okay, so let's talk about the equation of a parabola, okay? Let's just look at this. So this is the general equation of a parabola. Y minus K equals 1 over 4P times X minus H in parentheses squared. So you need to copy that down. And I've already explained that the vertex is HK. And that makes sense, just like in the equation of a circle, how you have like x minus whatever the center is for the x coordinate and y minus whatever the y coordinate is. So it's like your HK. Your focus, again, is H and then K plus P. Your axis of symmetry is x equals H. So set that equal to 0 and solve, and you'll get the axis of symmetry. For your directrix, and we'll talk about what all that is, it's y equals K minus P. Now you need all of these things when you are graphing it, or if they give you part of it, and you have to figure out the rest of it, maybe just to even get the equation. Anybody got all that down? Okay, so we're going to take this equation, and we're going to take this information that we know right here, and we're going to write the equation. So, we have y minus k, I know that k is 0, right? Over 1 over 4 times p, I know that p is 3, times x minus h, and h is 0, squared. Now, of course, I'm going to simplify that, but that's just plugging it into the equation, right? So here we're going to have y equals 1/12, and this is just x squared. Any questions on that one? No, pretty straightforward. Let's look at the next one. Just see if we can use the same process. So our vertex is at the origin, and our focus is at 0, 4. Since I know that k is 0 and that this is h plus k, then I know that p is 4. So again, using my equation of a parabola, I know I'll have y minus 0 equals 1 over 4 times p times x minus 0 squared. So of course that's y equals 1/16 x squared, which of course is c. Okay? Now let's go something that isn't, something zeros, you know, where everything just sort of looks like to you like it's gone. So it says a parabola has a vertex at 5, -5. Its focus is at 5, 5. Write the equations of the parabola, the directrix, and the axis of symmetry, and then graph it. Okay, so the equation is y minus k. What's k here, guys? negative 5. So it's going to be y minus negative 5 equals 1 over 4 times p. Now, k is equal to negative 5, and k plus p is equal to 5. So what do you think p is? 10, right? So p is 10. And then I have x minus h. What's h? 5. Okay. So we have y plus 5 is equal to 1 over 40 times x minus 5 squared. That's the equation of the parabola, right? Okay, so this is my parabola. I'll put a p there, because we've got several things to get here. The directrix is the equation y equals k minus p. So for the directrix, it's going to be y equals k minus p. Negative 5 minus 10, so negative 15. And the axis of symmetry, the equation for that is x equals h. And h is 5, so x equals 5. Okay? Now we need to graph it. So what does a graph like this look like? Let's see. So the axis of symmetry will be the first thing that you will probably graph, okay? Okay, so let's do this first. Or maybe the vertex might be first. So I would, it doesn't matter which one of those you do first, but those two together need to be done first. So the vertex, we were told, is 5, negative 5. So 5, negative 5, and the axis of symmetry should go through that vertex anyway. So this is the line x equals 5. And notice it is labeled down here. So you label the line with the equation. So get your vertex and your axis of symmetry graphed first. Okay, now the next thing you want to graph is probably the directrix. So if we go to the directrix next, it's y equals negative 15. So go down until you get to negative 15. And notice that this axis of symmetry in this directrix, I'm not using solid lines for that, right? So I'm just using a broken line for those. But I am labeling it. Now the next thing you probably want to graph is the focus. Now the reason you're doing it in this order will become evident in a minute. So if you do that second, let's do this focus third. So the focus is at 5, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So right here. And I'm going to call it F and 5, 5. And this was V for vertex, 5, negative 5. Now the reason we haven't done the parabola itself yet is because the vertex should lie halfway between the focus and the directrix. Okay, so if it isn't, you can go back and check everything before you start graphing this big old parabola, right? Go back and do your check. Also, your parabola will never cross your directrix. Okay, the directrix is down here, right? And your parabola is going up this way. If your parabola was going down, the directrix would be up above it. Okay, so it gives you like just a way to get started so that you're not going in the wrong direction and everything. If you start trying to find points to graph on this parabola and it is going in the wrong direction, you quickly realize it. because of where your focus and where your directrix is. Any questions so far? Okay, so we need to find where this parabola is going to cross the axes. So, of course, we're going to take our equation, y plus 5 equals 1 over 40 times x minus 5 squared. And you're going to plug in a 0 for x. Okay, so we're finding the point 0 something, right? I plugged a 0 in for x. So this is going to be 25 over 40. That's 5 over 8, right? I just reduced it. And then minus 5. So that's going to be 40 over 8. So y is going to be negative 35 over 8. So that's about negative 4. That would be 32 and 3/8. So negative 4 and 3/8. That's going to be a point that's going to cross. Okay, so go back to your graph and plot that point. So 0 and negative 4 and 3/8. So you have this point and this point. And remember, it's a parabola, and it's going to be symmetrical about the axis of symmetry. So if I can just count, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, of course that was evident from where I was, but still. And then go up the same amount, come over 5 this way, and go up and make another point. Now, I don't have to label that point, but I do need to label this one. It's on an axis, okay? Everybody with me so far? So I've got that much, but I need to know where it's going to cross my x-axis also. So where it crosses the x-axis, of course, is where y is equal to 0. So we'll come back, and we'll put, okay, that's where x was equal to 0. We'll use the same formula, but we'll put it 0 in for y and solve that. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 40 to get rid of the 1 over 40 business, right? Okay, so I have 200 here. I have x minus 5 squared here. So the easiest way to solve that is to take the square root of both sides. So this is x minus 5. And this will be plus or minus the square root of 200. So when I bring the 5 over, I'm going to have x equals 5 plus or minus the square root of 200 is the square root of 100 times 2, so it's 10 times the square root of 2, right? And actually, I'm not sure it's easier to think of it like that. It might be easier for you to try to think of the square root of 200, because what's the square root of 225? 15, right? So you know it's just less than 15, right? That might be easier when you're trying to graph it, is what I'm saying. So if we have 5 plus or minus and something a little bit less than 15, right? I mean, if you think about how to graph it. So that means 5 plus 15 would be 20. Well, that's a little bit less than 20. So if you come over to 20 and go a little bit less than that. Okay, so count over to 20. It's going to be a little bit less than that. And put a point. Say it louder. Right, because it's a little bit less than 15 that we're adding to 5. And if we have 5 minus something that's a little bit less than 15, well, if it was 15, it'd be negative 10, right? So it's going to be a little bit less than that. So come over there and come back a little bit and make a point. Now, the only reason I really want this form of it right here is because I need to label my points, right? So I do want this form, but it's easier for me to think of it when I'm trying to figure out where the point goes. I just leave it as square root of 200. So this right here is going to be 5 plus 10 times the square root of 2 0. And this one's going to be 5 minus 10 times the square root of 2, 0. So if you'll graph the vertex and the axis of symmetry first, then do your directrix and your focus, then start finding your points for your parabola. Your parabola should go in the opposite direction of the directrix, away from it, right? Any questions so far? Anybody? Okay, a lot of stuff to think about, right? Let's look back at number 4. Okay, this one says the directrix is y equals -4. It says the focus is 0, 4. Find the coordinates of the vertex and write the equation for the parabola. So remember, the directrix is y equals k plus p. I'm sorry, k minus p, I'm sorry. So k minus p is equal to -4. Get that from the formula, right? The focus is h and k plus p. So k plus p is equal to 4. So if k minus p is -4 and k plus p is 4, can't we just solve that? Just two equations, two unknowns. In fact, we just add them together, can't we? The p's cancel, you get 2k equals 0. So k is 0, right? Okay, so k right here is 0. And then what is p? And p is 4. So now we can just throw this into our equation for the parabola. So we're going to have y minus k, that's y minus 0, or just y, equals 1 over 4 times p, which is going to be what? Right, so 4 times 4 is 16. And then we're going to have x minus h. By the way, where am I going to get h out of here? I mentioned it, but I didn't point it out real loud. Right, this is h right here, right? So x minus 0 squared. So that's my equation for my parabola. Okay? So find the coordinates of the vertex. The vertex is hk. H we found was 0, and k we found was 0. Any questions on that one? Okay. I want y'all to try number 5 on your own. And if you finish it before I call time, go flip over and see if you can do one of the ones on the back.